science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
Cockatoos with attitude. Cockatude. Hello and welcome to Cockatude, Episode 9. Chloe and Snowball. Feathers are forever. This is Snowball. And this is Chloe. I love you. This is Roman Bird. And with us today we also have Peaches. And we have Sugar. And Salamander. He's been over there chattering while I've been setting all this equipment up. The reason that we're doing Chloe and Snowball together is that they are a mated pair. And unlike human relationships, they mate for life. There are only a few things that can break that bond. One would be if one were to become severely ill. It is normal in the wild for birds to abandon their mates if they're severely ill. We don't know, of course, because we have no way to know for sure, but it looks as if they do that because they're protecting the health of the flock. And Chloe, when she came to me, had severe feather destructive behavior. As you can see, she has almost perfect feathering now, right, Chloe? She also has the prettiest eyes of any umbrella cockatoo I've ever seen. They're definitely the lightest. It's almost the color of the wood walnut, like a light walnut. Right, Chloe? And when Chloe came to me, she was, most of the feathers on her chest were gone. She was chewing feathers pretty much all over her body. Her legs were nude. Hi, Roman, I love you too, you silly bird. And frankly, I didn't know a darn thing about birds. I had been reading. I started off with the Parrots for Dummies by Nikki Mustaki. And I was about halfway through that book when I noticed online in an old thing called a Usenet group that was alt.cockatoos. In alt.cockatoos there was an ad that said that this couple had an umbrella cockatoo that they needed to rehome that weekend. Now these groups, these old Usenet groups, are actually, it's a worldwide service, so it could have been anywhere. It happened to be in Spring Valley, about an hour from where I lived in Escondido at the time, which is in San Diego County. So I called them up and I went down and I picked up Chloe, and they didn't have any books to offer me. They gave me a cage. They told me a few stories about her, like they had this habit of leaving her alone for 3 days at a time on a weekend every month. And one time they had forgotten and left the key in the lock on her cage. She had turned the key, popped the lock, got it off the cage, and fortunately for them, she didn't go in and chew any electrical cords. Instead, what she did is she went into the bathroom, and they had a wooden medicine cabinet. When they came back from their vacation, there was only toothpicks. She had destroyed the entire medicine cabinet. Also, fortunately, and these were older people, so there were a lot of medicines in there that could have hurt her, but she had never played with any bottles like that, so she didn't try to open them. Another good reason that you never want to let them play with empty medicine bottles, because if they develop a desire to do that, and they find one that happens to have something in it, then you may have a serious problem. You may have a dead bird. So you don't want them playing with medicine bottles. So I never did find out exactly why they said they couldn't have her anymore, but they were going to find a place to take her that weekend. And I understand that she had been at a place in Del Mar called Free Flight. It was run by a doctor named Dr. Stonebreaker, who is no longer with us. His wife has taken over that facility. And I was told by them that they wouldn't take her back. They said that she needed human companionship, not the companionship of birds, and she didn't do well in that situation. When I got her, she certainly was more interested in humans than anything else. We formed quite a strong bond in a short time. Although I didn't learn much about her until I was going through a divorce at the time. So I moved in with a friend, and when we filed the papers, I moved in with a friend, and I was in his 10 by 10 room upstairs with her. And I went to put her back in the cage one night, in the cage that she had come with. And I noticed, it was the first time I actually noticed a behavior that was trying to tell me something. She pulled her feathers tight to herself when I put her on the perch. Her eyes focused forward, and she just sat there, kind of like a statue. And my thought at the time was, she doesn't want to be in this cage. So the next day, I took her down, and I bought a cage for her, but she... That's right, Peaches. They had, they had 6 or 7 large cages, you know, that were at least 3 foot by 4 foot by 6 foot tall. And there was only one. There was only one that this girl would even go near. The rest of them she wouldn't pay any attention to. And I tried opening the doors to all of them, and she wouldn't go in. But this one cage, she went right in. And so I got the cage, and it was pretty hefty to haul upstairs. It was heavy. An old California cage, they went out of business. Somebody bought them, and then they started making something else besides these great cages they used to make. But she got on that cage that night, and she strutted around with her crest up. And I've never seen anything like it since, but she made the sounds that sounded like tubular bells. It was like a more pleasant version of the music from The Exorcist. And this went on for about 10 minutes. I was so awestruck, I didn't even think about breaking out a video camera. I did have a little camera at the time that could have taken a video, but I just didn't know what to say. I was sitting on this couch looking at her with my jaw dropped, and that was the first time we really connected.
If you are enjoying our videos, we hope that you can find it in your heart to support our work. It costs between $25,000 to $30,000 a year to care for our flock of heartbroken and abused birds. Most of our birds came with feather destructive disorder. Even a basic exam with blood work costs $300. Medical emergencies cost us thousands a year. We are a non-profit, and donations are tax-deductible to the full extent of the law. We need your support. Birds deserve a happy and healthy life. Become our patron at www.patreon.com/Chloe Sanctuary to support us on a per-video basis, or donate at our webpage today.
After that, I just started paying attention to her, but it took a couple of years before I actually broke through and was making good, solid connection. I remember the first time she explained to me how to tell when she wanted something. She climbed down my shirt in the kitchen and then hung over the counter and stared at what she wanted. She didn't grab it, she just stared at it. In a matter of a few weeks, she had trained me that if she looked at something, just looked at it, that's what she wanted. If she looked at it and then looked away, she didn't want it. I love you too, Roman. Yes, a good boy. Well, you want to come down? All right. You can sit on my lap if you want to. Sure. Sure. So, her feather destructive behavior was at times bad, especially during what I've learned is the mating season from November until March. And when Snowball came to us, she started paying attention to him. When I'd take him out of the cage and we'd be playing, she would look at him and try to get close to him if she was out of the cage. What I had learned up to that point was that if you put a male and female together and they formed a mating bond, that mate bond would make it so that they would have no interest in humans whatsoever. And that, I understand, is true. There is a special situation with these two, though, in that Chloe had a salfingo hysterectomy before I got her. And what that is they put... Sorry, Roman. Yeah, Roman has a balance problem. If I touch his tail, he'll become unbalanced. Well, not like most humans, not mentally unbalanced, but he just loses his ability to stand up straight, don't you? You do, don't you? Yes, silly. You're so cute. You're so cute. Much cuter than I am, yes.
We had to move from Escondido to Fallbrook after the fire. The fire destroyed the sanctuary, but fortunately it didn't hurt any of the birds. They didn't receive any smoke inhalation. Losing her cage had a dramatic effect on her. She was severely traumatized.
She started going downhill. She started doing more feather destructive behavior. She was hanging out in the bottom of the cage. She wasn't eating properly. She got down to about 460 grams, and that was about 10% of her weight loss. And that is a definite go to the vet when that happens. At 5%, you start paying solid attention, weighing them, making sure that you get them weighed once or twice a day. Then at 10%, you take them to the vet. So I took her to one vet, and they didn't really have anything that they could tell me about, what to do for the situation. So then, on the advice of Melissa, who was at the time one of our board members, I went down to see Dr. Jenkins, which I had never met him before. It was a bit of a drive. It's a couple of hours down there and a couple hours back, so we're talking about a 5-hour trip. And he explained to me quite calmly, and I do have a background. I did take, physiology and biology classes in college and chemistry and that kind of thing. So it's much like what happens to cutters, people who cut their wrist and then dial 911. When they have this high anxiety in their brain, there's a high level of dopamine. And when they cut their wrists, the endorphins, the natural opiates of the body, are released, and they feel better. So they go from this depressed state into a state of almost euphoria. So most people who get into that cycle have a cycle of anxiety and release, anxiety and release. Well, that's the same thing that's going on with the birds. So there is a drug for this. It's called haloperidol. And he explained to me how it worked. He showed me pictures of several Moluccans that he had done this with, and they'd all been put on the drug, and they were all feathered fine. They had their feathers came back, and how they were happy and they were living normal lives, as normal as we can get if they're not in the wild and haven't been raised by their parents. So I got the medicine and prepared to give it to her when I got home. But I also had several books, including the manual of parrot behavior, and I looked in there, and I did a little study online and found out how the drug works and confirmed what he said, and I put her on it. And it took only about a week, and he said that was what was going to happen. About a week, she was going to snap out of it. she started gaining weight. The first couple of days she didn't gain weight, and that's a side effect. The first couple of days of taking Haldol, usually the appetite will be reduced. And that is a side effect. Usually the first couple of days, the appetite will be reduced. And there will be some reduced activity as well. Not always. Some birds will become more active when they're given Haldol. A good example of that would be Cecil. If you give him a normal dose at his weight, he's going to become hyper. And he's going to be getting into everything, playing with toys, and a little indiscriminate about using his beak. He's not trying to hurt anybody, but he's just playing hard. We've only had to do that a couple of times with him. He does have a little feather destructive behavior, but we're managing to keep that under control by just keeping his feathers wet a couple of times a day. That works for some, if it's not too bad. Right, Roman? Right? So she got better, she gained weight, but she kept looking over at Snowball, and she just wasn't active. She wasn't very active. I didn't know whether to ascribe that problem to the drug or possibly to her interest in Snowball. So, having read quite a bit about what happens when you have birds that become mated, but not knowing and not being able to find any information about neutered females in a mated bond, I was fearing that I was going to lose my connection with her, but fearing more that she was going to die.
3, 2, 4, 3.
Nice, Peaches. That was nice. Was that a little chorus for us? Was it? Was that a chorus for us, little girl? Hmm? Was that a chorus? You playing your piano? So, I finally decided, even though I didn't have any way to know for sure what was going to happen, to let her go ahead and... you lost a feather there, kid. Snowball, that was a good flight. Well done, Snowball. Well done. What are you doing over there? What are you doing over there? Yeah, I know. That was unexpected, wasn't it? You didn't... Well, you could fly too. If you didn't have that hump in your back, you could fly. That's true. You're cute. You're cute, though. So that went well. So I let them start playing together, and their sleeping room, where all the birds sleep, I put a little nest box in there and let them go into that room, and just made sure that they each had interaction with me every day, and they both get along with humans just great. Chloe and I don't have the same relationship we used to have. She doesn't dote on me anymore, but we get along well. Don't we, Chloe? Hi, beautiful. She's friendly with people. She still likes to go to the Renaissance fairs and see her friends. She prefers, of course, to have Snowball along with her. And her weight came back up. She usually sits somewhere between 520 and 510 grams now. Her appetite's good. Her interest is good. Yeah. Oh, he's up there? Well, he's not far away. He's right up there. He's right up there, baby.
If you are enjoying our videos, we hope that you can find it in your heart to support our work. It costs between $25,000 to $30,000 a year to care for our flock of heartbroken and abused birds. Most of our birds came with feather destructive disorder. Even a basic exam with blood work costs $300. Medical emergencies cost us thousands a year. We are a non-profit, and donations are tax-deductible to the full extent of the law. We need your support. Birds deserve a happy and healthy life. Become our patron at www.patreon.com/Chloe Sanctuary to support us on a per-video basis, or donate at our webpage today.
We picked up Snowball here in Fallbrook, and he was with us for a couple of weeks, and then he went into a foster home. And the lady who was fostering him really loved him, but her life was complicated, and she, at the end of the fostering period, she returned him to us. And this, of course, is before the bonding happened with him, at which point we couldn't really let him go anywhere without possibly threatening Chloe's life. But then she decided she was going to go ahead and make the changes in her life, and she was going to keep Snowball. And that didn't work out, so she brought him back again. Again, life complications. If you aren't actually ready to let a bird, in many ways, take over the way you live your life, it's not going to work for you, and it's not going to work for the bird. So he came back, and it was only a month or two later that they were a bonded pair, and now he's very caught. He protects her. He defers to her when she wants something, and she'll do the same thing with him. They do separate at times in that big room. They do not sleep in the same cage, nor if I'm not here or no one else is on the premises, they're in separate cages. And I don't think you could put two people together that really cared about each other and have them locked in the same room for 3 or 4 hours of a day and expect them to get along. I know it doesn't work terribly well when you have people who do a business together and they have to work in the same environment and see each other all day. It seems to be kind of similar. They like to see each other, but they like a little bit of distance at times too. So now when he first came here, you couldn't pry his feet off the cage. To get him up on you, I mean, you were talking about peeling one toe away from the bars, another toe away from the cage bars, and he just wouldn't come out. But it didn't take very long for him to come around. He steps right up when you ask him to. He will get right up to your face and talk to you. He had some issues when he first came to us, and they actually got worse when he was in fostering. All birds will try to take imperfections off your skin. If you have a spot here or there, or a scab, they'll remove them. When he was being fostered, one of the children of the lady doing the fostering thought it was amusing to encourage him to actually pick the spots on skin. So it took about 6 months to break him of that, and he'll still occasionally start to look at spots on your skin, at which point you have to redirect his attention. That's all you really need to do. If you were to get too interested in doing that and hard to deter, you just have to pick up the lid from a big lid off of a jar, a plastic lid, and throw it, and then he'll play games. Now, I learned about this from the lady who was fostering him. If she took a lid and threw it, he would grab the lid and come back with it. Well, after being with us for a while, we have shifted that slightly. Now what he likes to do is you throw the lid and he throws it back to you. It's become more of a game of catch instead of fetch. So for a while he was just going a little distance away and throwing it back. But now what he likes to do is actually have you throw the lid up to him. He'll catch it in midair. And then if he does an exceptionally good catch, he'll take and do a figure 8 with his head while he's holding the lid, or he'll beat the lid against something, like a palm cockatoo will beat a stick against a hollow log. So you throw a lid up, he catches it and throws it back. Now, if he's especially interested, and that's the only thing I can see as a reason for this, but if he's especially interested in playing, when I go in at night, which is usually when I play with him, it's just before everybody goes to bed, to perch, to roost, he will make a pile of lids in the center of the floor. I can't prove that that's why he's doing it, but when that pile is there, he's usually standing on top of the cage, holding a lid, and staring at me. So here's a pile of lids, all in a neat little pile for me to throw, and he's got one in his beak, and it looks pretty obvious that he's trying to get me to play. So we consider him our athlete. He'll be playing with lids, and sometimes I'll walk by his room, and he'll just be playing by himself. But he'll see me, and he'll stop, and he'll grab the lid and look at me like, "You sure you don't want to play?" Sometimes I will, of course, depending on what I have to do. But he's come out a lot too. In the way that they're bonded, and these two should never be separated. The way that they're bonded, they share a lot of their life together, but they also have their own individual things that they do. For example, at night when I'll go and I'll be loading all the food, what I do is I take the food from the day, the dry food, and it's in the other room, and I rearrange it into dishes that go into the sleeping room. And in the sleeping room, then I put the food and I put fresh water into the sleeping room, and I close all the doors because Chloe will go around and eat the things she wants. She'll eat the things she wants to, such as she'll eat the papaya out, and sometimes she'll eat sunflower seeds, and occasionally she'll eat an almond. And so I do that, and then I put a separate bowl out that has treats in it for her. She doesn't always want that, but you can tell when you go in with a tray if you need to make a special, because she'll be out, she'll be looking at you, and she has a different way of looking for water than she has a way of looking for food. If she wants water, she'll just kind of stand and look at you. If she wants food, she'll be looking like this, like, where's that bowl for me? So Chloe's favorite things are papaya and pine nuts and sunflower seeds. The sunflower seeds that I do let them have, and they don't have that many of them, but they're actually roasted, unsalted. I get them from nuts.com. Snowball's favorite things to eat are cashews and almonds.
Watch right here as I space out and Roman tries to get my attention.
Aw, thank you, baby. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. Thank you, Roman. Aw, Roman, thank you. Whenever Roman puts his wings out like that, he expects me to say thank you. That's what I've always done when he did it. And it's kind of, you've heard the phrase, being under someone's wing. Well, that's what he's doing. So he's putting me under his wing. So with Snowball, Snowball needs to be played with every day. He needs to be, you need to throw a lid, and keep in mind though, if that lid gets too close to you, if he should be so.
Green frog says,
Where'd you go,
ribbit,
Chloe?
Ribbit.
What are you doing? What are you doing? You have to keep in mind that if he's on the floor and that lid is within a foot of you, you either have to be one of the fastest humans in the world, or you have to let him get it and toss it back. He will nip sometimes. He doesn't mean to. He's not trying to get you. But he tries to get the lid fast, and I'm just not fast enough to stop him from accidentally catching my hand in the process. If that does happen, there may be I think someone should actually check to see, do a scientific study to see if these animals actually have empathy, because if he thinks he's bitten you, he won't play anymore. He's done. And this is a bird that likes to play. He's an athlete. Chloe likes to go out and go to Renaissance fairs. Obviously, that doesn't happen all the time, but she does like to go out and meet people, especially to see people she already knows. So at the Renaissance fairs, there's quite a few people she already knows, and she enjoys going there. She likes getting out with Snowball if they go together. She's not too keen on going without him. In the wild, they would never separate, so we try to keep that going here. And again, if something ever happens where they're separated, I don't think Chloe will live very long. She may not even have more than a month of life in her. They are bonded in ways humans can't understand. Most humans have the stick-to-itiveness of a Post-it note. And in the world of cockatoos and parrots, these bonds are for life. So, she's a happy girl, aren't you, Chloe? Aren't you, Chloe? Are you a happy girl? They can't see you up there, though. They can't see you. No. Cameras are facing the other way. They can see Roman here. Yeah, now they can hear you, yes. They can hear you. And Snowball, you're out of the camera range too, and I don't have any other camera people with me today. We're just using stationary iPhones to record this. But Chloe currently is on 0.13 milliliters of the 2 milligram per milliliter haloperidol. She takes it in a syringe, and you just tilt her head back a little bit, and she'll go ahead and take it without any problem. It'll be reduced once we get out of this mating season, because it's currently in February. We have a little ways to go. She will normally sit at 0.09 or 0.10. But in mating season, you have to give her a little more. I'm sure she wants to have a little troop of babies behind her. And in fact, in her box, she has a couple of fake eggs that one of our directors gave us. They're just, one is like a piece of glass, so that frosty glass. The other one is white with little, it kind of looks like white granite. And they're a little larger than the eggs they normally have, but they're pretty close. And sometimes they'll put other objects in there too and sit on them. You need to move her nest box occasionally from one position to another just to keep her from just sitting in that box. She needs to get exercise, so I'll move it to different parts of the room, and then she'll get more interested in life and redo things for a few days, and then I'll move it again. And she doesn't seem to mind that at all, and it keeps her busy. Right, Chloe? Like the other birds here, they're on Bob's mash. They get the mash in the morning and just snacks at night. They don't get mash at night. They could, but I've offered it to them and they don't show any interest at night. In the morning, they're interested. They're on it. They're eating that mash. But at night, they'd rather just eat their snacks. And they both eat the rowdy bush as well. Chloe is not easily frightened by things, whereas Snowball, new things tend to bother him. So I was surprised today when I brought him in. He's never seen the microphone boom. But he went right by it, no problem. Chloe normally will put up with most anything. If she does start making a scream, which is basically she starts repeating the same squawk over and over again, then something is bothering her. I learned that ages ago when I was cooking and I had a can of Rumford baking powder out, and I'd taken a whole bunch of things and laid them out. So it was kind of, I had a heck of a time figuring out what in the world was setting her off. But when I took that can and I hit it, and I put it out where she couldn't see it, she stopped. At one point, she was nervous when I brought in a lamp, the kind that has, it's a multi-stage lamp for the living room. And she wouldn't tolerate it. So I bring it out for 20 minutes or so, and she'd scream at it, and then I'd take it away. And I used to joke with one of the board directors. I used to say, it's a lamp, whenever Chloe was upset about something. She used to be terribly defensive of me in the early days, and I one time I brought home this little toy talking parrot that repeats what you say. There was a video we have of her attacking that. I called it Fred. But if you wanted to break her attention from whatever she was getting into, if she didn't, if she seemed to be a little out of it or wasn't paying much attention to life, which she had gotten into that a few times in the early days. If I brought Fred out, that was it. She was on that and interested the rest of the day. I couldn't leave it with her, though, because she would just destroy it, tear it to pieces. But you got to see what it's like when they're defending something that they care about. She dumped me pretty well for Snowball, and that's probably a good thing. You know, they really belong with their own kind. But we don't need any more of them bred in captivity. So if you think that you can protect these birds by actually breeding them in captivity, if they're lost in the wild, I think they're lost. Because there's a whole culture. There's a whole, 95% from what I've studied, 95% of what they know about life, they learn from their mother, their father, their siblings, and the flock. And it takes a year or two for most of that to be learned. Actually, it's probably even longer. They have a long juvenile dependency period, like we humans do. But in captivity, the parents will kill their young. They don't really know how to raise young. So when they lay their eggs, the eggs are taken away. They're put into an incubator, and they never actually get to know their parents. So we're not actually saving them any more than we would be saving humans. People, if we were to hand them over to chimpanzees to raise. If you could only imagine what would happen if one of our own, a human child were actually raised by a chimpanzee and then went through adolescence and all that in that world, and then you tried to bring it into our world, that wouldn't be a human child. Part of what we are is our culture, and I believe that with these guys too, they have a culture that they become a part of, and we take that away from them, and we take away the essence of what a cockatoo really is. If you look at the way they act in the wild, you can see some of the wild behaviors in them. They never lose some of those wild behaviors, but it's a different kind of animal out there in the wild. So about a year ago, Snowball started tearing his feathers out only in the morning. He started to tear some of his feathers out, just the coverts mostly, in the morning in his cage. So I go into his sleeping cage, and here's these feathers at the bottom. So what I started doing was giving him 0.06 milliliters of Haldol just at night, just before he goes to sleep, and that took the problem away. He does get a tiny bit, but only at that one time of day. Chloe has to have her dose twice a day. She gets it in the morning before breakfast, usually around 8 o'clock, and then she gets another dose between 4 and 5 at night. And if you take her off that, you're going to find that she has no feathers on her chest, and she'll pull the feathers out on her legs. And this is consistent with what we know. If you look in the Manual of Parrot Behavior, you'll see how it generally talks about a bird that has gotten into this behavior pattern. If they've been doing this for more than a year, they're probably going to continue doing it. And so any bird that has this problem will normally have to continue to have the drug for the rest of their lives. And as long as they're happy, like Peaches, who right now is on a small amount of the drug, she's on 0.06 because it's mating season, and she'll start picking her feathers. She'll pick right here. You see there's a little bit of something that happened there. That's when we started her on it. We just wait until she starts doing that. And then she'll also pick right up here. She'll get this little spot there, and she'll start on her chest if you don't catch her here. So as soon as you see her start doing something, you need to give her some. I would never go more than 0.08. And you got to watch her weight because she'll sometimes stop eating. And unlike most birds, she may slow down her actual appetite for weeks. So your best bet is to just give her a little bit in the morning and see if that stops it. And if you see that she starts to do it later in the day, then give her a second dose. But keep your eye on her weight too. If you take Snowball and Chloe out into public to meet people, just remember that you need to use the aviator harness. They are trained into the harnesses. And either one of them can get a little flighty sometimes and just want to take off. Especially if there's hawks. And where I live, there are hawks all over the place in Southern California. So if they see a hawk, they may go dodging. At a Renaissance fair, sometimes they'll have raptors. They'll actually have people who have trained falcons and that kind of thing. If they see them, they're going to dart away. And so you need to have them on an aviator harness. And what I'll usually do is I'll have them on the harness and I'll wrap it around my fingers close when I'm in a place like that. And then when you're in an area where there aren't many people around or much distraction, and in those situations, what I'll do is I'll let it loose so that if they do fly off, they're going to fly off a little ways. And since the aviator harness has that stretch to it, they're just going to kind of go out and then softly land. So it's not a problem. I wouldn't use any other harness. Most of them have a bunch of clips that could cause a problem. And if they turn in midair one way or the other, they could get tangled. That really isn't an issue with the aviator. So that's the one you want to use, definitely. And even if it's a little oversized, if you get one that's a little bit too big, it's fine. Too small, no. But if it's too big, yeah, it'll usually still hold a bird, no problem. Both Chloe and Snowball do need human attention every day, even though they hang out together. And they're a mated pair. So you have to make sure that you interact with Chloe and that you interact with Snowball. And with Snowball, playing with lids is your best bet. That he loves to do that, or he's also a great cuddler. He'll get right up to your face and say sweet things. And he does talk with two different voices. He talks when he inhales. It's really odd. He'll say, Snowball, like that. And he's just inhaling when he's talking. The first time he actually spoke, and he said, good boy, and he exhaled, I thought there was a different bird in the house. I mean, I've never heard a bird speak like that. He'll say, and it's perfectly clear, he'll say, good boy. But if he's inhaling, it's good boy. So, yeah, I'm talking about you, Snowball. Yes. Both Chloe and Snowball are healthy. Their last exams, they came out with flying colors. At one of our vets, they always comments on how easy it is to deal with these birds because they'll spread their wings out for them. You can handle them. Their heart rates don't go up. That's handling every day and making them comfortable in their environment. That's important to do with any bird that you have. The prognosis for Chloe and Snowball is good as long as they're kept together and they're given their medicine. They need a wide variety of food, and the mash we have in the morning, that should be Bob's mash. They should get that in the morning. And then rowdy bush with sunflower seeds, some banana chips, almonds, cashews, and pine nuts. You need to make sure that you weigh them at least once a week, preferably every day, just to make sure that they're not losing any weight, that there's not something going on. They are prey animals. Prey animals hide their illnesses, and the only way you can tell is by their poop, to make sure their poop is normal. And both of them have, good 50-cent sized poop. And all three elements are in there: the fecal matter, the urates, which is the milky white or yellowish discharge in their poop, and the urine, which is the clear. And they both tend to have all three elements equally balanced. It looks good, and the fecal matter is green, as it should be. If it turns brown, that's an indication there's a problem. If you look up poopology on the web, you will see that there's an article by a a veterinarian that describes poop and what you should see in it. You should be well familiar with what their poop is like, and you should make sure that their weight is not either too much or too little, and keep an eye on it on a regular basis. Neither one of them bite. They're friendly. They like to be among people. They're hanging out in here, no problem, with other birds. There are some birds. Chloe will be protective of Snowball if there's a female around that shows any interest in him, which is why there are 3 Mullicans in here. There are 2 female Mullicans, 1 male. We've got a male umbrella here. There are no female umbrellas in this room. And the reason for that is that Chloe will not want to have any females around her Snowball. And she will start yelling at them and possibly trying to get them out of the room. So they do well with other birds, but they'd have to be males to ensure that there won't be an issue. It's hard to deal with. I mean, not that you can't deal with it. I have actually had them in situations with females around, but you have to be diligent. You have to be, it's a vigil. It's something you have to be alert and concentrated on to make sure that nothing happens. So, and Chloe's not going to hurt anybody intentionally, but she will confront them, and then she'll confront them closer, and you've got plenty of time to break the situation up. She's not going to just fly off and attack someone. Chloe likes to go places. She likes hikes up through forest-like areas she enjoys. There was a place in Escondido, Felicita Park. We'd walk up through there when she prefers to see the Renaissance Fair there, and if there's a bunch of cars parked there, she expects to see the Renaissance Fair. But if she sees no cars, she seems to be aware that it's going to be just a trek through some of their backwoods areas. She likes to do that. There's also a place called Queen Califia in Escondido. It's kind of a pagan monument. It's really something different. She likes to go there and just hang out with Snowball. So that's our show, Cockatude 9, Chloe and Snowball. And Roman, you want to say goodbye to everybody? You want to say goodbye? Say goodbye, everybody. See you next time.
Please visit our website at www.chloesanctuary.org. That's Chloe spelled Chloe. You can support us on a per episode basis by visiting www.patreon.com, that's Patreon /Chloe Sanctuary.